Previously at Chester Zoo. One of the rarest exotic birds in the world is seriously ill and in danger of dying.
For the bird team and also for the vets here, the pressure's really on.
Today, zoo vets enlist the help of a specialist and the latest surgical technology.
What she really needs is a new kidney, yeah? She does? Yeah.
There's a whole new ball game for Kapala the tiger, thanks to keeper Andy.
He's a little bit scared of it. You can see his ears are back. You can tell that he really, really wants to play with it.
And romance is in the air, lemur style.
There will be a bit of argy-bargy and a bit of screaming and a bit of shouting and a bit of squabbling for another couple of weeks yet.
It's a bright winter's morning, and headkeeper Andy Lenihan is crossing over to Chester Zoo's Lemur Island. The island is full of noise and frantic activity at the moment because it's the height of the mating season. High in the trees, the adults squabble, and sometimes there are outbreaks of what's called stink fighting. Fights in which rival males spray each other with their body odours. Andy must keep a close eye on the lemurs in case the disputes lead to members of the group being injured or excluded.
Because this is the breeding season, there's quite a bit of squabbling between the males and that. There's quite a bit of scent marking. There's not been too much stink fighting at the moment, but they're going round scent marking all the trees. But we haven't had any kicked out of the group at the moment, which is what usually happens every year, so fingers crossed we might not this year, hopefully. There will be a bit of argy-bargy and a bit of screaming and a bit of shouting and a bit of squabbling for another couple of weeks yet. So if we can ride that storm, then usually the group's okay after that.
Ring-tailed lemurs come from the hot, steamy jungles of Madagascar. But over the years, they've adapted well to Chester's cold winters.
We've had lemurs on the island now since 1984, when we first put 7 males on the island, then we added some females, and then they've just been breeding, and they've gone to zoos all over the world, really, so we've sort of flooded the market with ring-tailed lemurs. We used to lock them in till several years ago because obviously we're surrounded by water and the water freezes, and we thought, oh, they might walk off, but because the island's their territory, we haven't locked them in for several years now, and we find even though the water ice is up, they just stay on the island, they don't walk off. So they've got the run of the island really 365 days a year. And as long as there's a bit of sun and it's above freezing, they will be out.
Even on the coldest days, the lemurs can be seen by the water's edge, soaking up the sun.
When you see them sunbathing, they sort of they sit down. They use their tail as sort of a balance behind them, and then they put their arms out and they put their head back and they close their eyes. They really get into it. They're real sort of sun worshippers. So yeah, they really love it. 1, 2.
Andy's final job before he leaves the island is to do a head count to make sure they're all up and about.
25, 26, 27. But yeah, they're all here. Not squabbling at the moment, fingers crossed, so that's me done.
Later on, the fight to save one of the world's rarest birds moves up a gear.
What we're going to do today is we're going to take it down to an avian specialist, and we're going to anaesthetise her and endoscope her. So we're going to put a little camera inside her, and that'll help us see what's going on.
Chester Zoo's keepers are constantly looking for new and unusual ways of providing mental and physical stimulus for the animals in their care. This morning, keeper Andy Wolfenden has something special lined up for Kapala, the young Sumatran tiger.
It's a new enrichment device that we've got for the tigers. Basically what it is it's a large garage spring. You can see it inside this piece of bamboo. If you pull it from this side, you can see the garage spring there. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to attach it up into the tree and then hang a ball, or we can also hang some food off it, or a Hessian sack. It's going to sit around about 3-4 foot off the ground, so it's going to be about a foot above the tiger's head height. So they've actually, straight away, they've got to be up on their back legs and be forcing it down, which is going to really strengthen up their forearms. This is the precarious bit. It's a bit windy.
The rubber ball that Andy will attach to the spring is one of Kapala's favourite playthings, and it's got the scars to prove it.
These are especially built for big cats. They're 3/4 inch thick plastic. As you can see there, this is the bit where they attack the most. All these are mainly teeth and claws, but there's some very deep gouges in there. You can see just how strong they are. If I get my knife out now, this is quite a sharp knife, and if I dig that in there, as you can see, that's barely breaking into it, and I'm putting a lot of force behind that, and that's me pushing straight into it. That's them putting their claws in and actually just raking it down. There's no way I could do it with this knife, and you know, as I say, it's a strong blade.
Kapala seems to sense that something is happening. Once the door is open, he makes a beeline for the ball.
Just had a first little go of it. As you can see, he's right up on his back legs now, really bouncing it. The spring's working well. He's a little bit scared of it. You can see his ears are back. You can tell that he really wants to play with it. And this straight away is such a, you know, it's a fantastic result. You can see him getting his claws right into it. I touched on the floor then. And you see how wide his eyes are as well. He's so alert in watching it. Yeah, it's fantastic to see. He's stalking it, he's sneaking up around it. He's really giving it a really good beating around. So he's watching it so intently. There's so much movement in it as well. That, you know, it's almost like a little game for him to play, where he's swinging it round and waiting for it to come back, and then he's going to be catching it again. It's using all of his muscles there. I mean, he's using his muscles in his back to try and keep it down, his muscles in his neck to keep it pushed into the ground, as well as obviously his forepaws as well. When he's actually standing up on his back legs, he's using the muscles in his back legs to get up there. So really, it's giving him a full body workout, really, a full muscular workout. He is actually only 2.5 years old, so he loves to play, he loves being around, you know. Even if there's nothing in there for him, he'll run through the bamboo, he'll be chasing things, chasing the birds that land in there, and playing in the water, or even just sitting up on top of the platform up there, just watching everything. He's still a kid in a sweet shop.
The ball game has been a big success. Andy will take the ball away soon in case Kapala gets bored, and give it back to him in a few days' time. At the Animal Health Centre, resident vet James Chatterton is preparing to take Jost, the red bird of paradise, to a specialist clinic. Jost is seriously ill. The fact that she's one of only 7 female red birds of paradise in captivity in the world means the pressure is on to save her.
What we're going to do today is we're going to take her down to an avian specialist, and we're going to anaesthetise her and endoscope her. So we're going to put a little camera inside her, and that'll help us see what's going on inside her, and therefore help us diagnose any other problems going on with her. It's something we have to do to diagnose a problem. It's not without risk, and over and above everything else, she's a very special bird. You know, she's one of only a handful of females in captivity in the world, so it's worrying times for her and us.
12 miles away at the Birch Heath Clinic, the first task is for avian specialist Michael Stanford to catch Jost so she can be anaesthetised.
OK, you put the light on, James. The idea is to catch the bird up as calmly as we can, and then as soon as we put it into the mask, we're now giving the bird a gas and it will go to sleep, hopefully fairly quickly. But once they go into the dark of the mask, the birds tend to settle down.
They start by taking X-rays.
It's 2 weeks since the last set, and we want to just check that none of the pathology has changed since then. Birds are very useful because they can give you ideas just by looking at their feathers and at their skin about what's going on inside. If you've got a severe liver disease in particular, we'll be seeing changes in the coloration of the bird, whereas this plumage looks reasonably good, I think, doesn't it, James? Yeah. This swelling on the foot is a worry. We're concerned that the bird may have a severe kidney problem, and one of the ways that shows in birds is that they get gout, which isn't due to them drinking far too much port, but the fact that the kidneys have failed and they start putting urates, which are the solid part of the bird's urine, into the joints. So I think what we're going to do as the next stage is we're going to take a small sample out of this swollen joint, and we'll get our pathology lab to have a look at it and just see if they can see evidence of kidney disease rather than us going straight in and putting the camera in. Poor birdie.
Chester Zoo vet James Chatterton and bird specialist Michael Stanford are examining the X-rays of Jost, the rare red bird of paradise. Michael suspects she may have kidney failure.
We're not getting a nice, smooth kidney outline there. And the problem with these treatments for birds for kidney disease is that they don't tend to cure anything. They just alleviate the symptoms.
And what she really needs is a new kidney, huh?
She does, yeah. Right, we're going to put a camera inside this bird now. And this is a very common technique, and it's been used since the 1970s just for sexing birds. But over the last decade, avian vets have been using it to actually look about in the abdomen and find out what's going on, maybe take some biopsies and even do surgery. Right, so we've gone in and immediately we can see the ovary. So we know this bird's a female. That's the kidney, just attaching onto the ovary. The problem with that kidney, James, is you can see there's white blotches on it. It's certainly not a normal bright active kidney. So that's the tube where the eggs that this bird would produce should come down, and it shouldn't be as big as that, it shouldn't be as enlarged. When did it last lay, this bird, do you know?
It's never bred.
Never bred at all. We've found a number of problems in this bird. The most obvious problem was with the kidneys. They were pale. We had this granular texture to the surface of them. But also, surprisingly, because of the blood results, we found major changes with the liver. The liver was enlarged, and we had a strange cystic structure on them. And to cap it all, the oviduct, which is the tube where the eggs pass down from the ovary, was diseased. There were adhesions there which would stop the normal transportation of eggs. And we already know that we've got a poorly bird that's been in intensive care for a number of weeks. And we've got, from the laboratory work we've done today, we know the joints are starting to fall apart as well. And it's, unfortunately, the end result is the bird's not going to get better.
To lose a bird the vet team and the keepers have worked hard to save is a massive blow and a major setback to the breeding programme. But everyone is agreed on what has to be done.
As her quality of life is impacted at the moment and we don't think we can do anything to give her that quality of life back, then the end result of that is that she's going to die, unfortunately. So I think better that we make that as quick and pain-free as possible. So unfortunately we're going to have to euthanize her, which is the worst part about being a vet, you know, the worst decision to have to make.
Later on, Neil has a secret ingredient to keep the chimps free from winter coughs and colds.
They're having garlic. Whoops.
At the tapir house, senior keeper Helen Massey is worried about one of her animals. He's due to have surgery at Liverpool University tomorrow.
This is Zack. He's just over a year old, and he's got a big lump underneath his chin, which has started off very small, but it's got bigger and bigger. The vets have tried to use antibiotics to try and stop it growing any bigger, or to try and reduce it, but it doesn't seem to have worked. So tomorrow he's going to go to Lea Hurst and have an operation to remove it or see what it is. The lump's just under his chin here, where I'm stroking. You can just about see it. It's quite solid, very fibrous, and it's probably about that long and that wide. Although it's not causing him pain, it could spread even further, because it is going down his neck a little bit. So if it is his salivary glands, then it could cause more problems later on. So the sooner we get it sorted, the better. But I suppose we'll find out tomorrow when he has his operation.
It's tea time on Chimp Island, and specialist keeper Neil Ormrod is hard at work in the kitchen preparing a meal for 30.
And this is the chimps' evening feed. They're having garlic as well. I used to have garlic cloves. And just break them up a little bit, mix it in with the food. This will be spread around the bed area when they come in. Garlic's supposed to be a good preventative treatment for colds and flu, sniffles, etc. Hopefully it'll stop them getting colds.
Neil has worked with chimps for 35 years. He knows only too well how deadly coughs and colds can be.
In this country, colds, flu, influenza type things, probably the biggest killer of chimps. They are 98.4% genetically the same as we are. But unfortunately, they've got no natural immunity to sort of westernised diseases such as colds and flu and stuff. So a chimp with a cold is a lot more serious than a human being with a cold.
Young chimps are especially vulnerable.
They lose a lot of condition. They want some TLC, really, and usually they regress a little bit and just hang off mum. If we're trying to give them medicine or something like that, they're not too keen on taking it from us, you know, because they don't want to leave mum.
Persuading the chimps to eat healthy garlic is not easy.
It's not the favourite, certainly, but they do eat it. If you handed it to them, some would eat it, but majority of them probably wouldn't be too impressed with it. But as it's all mixed up with the rest of the food, most of it will get eaten. It's like humans, you know. Not everybody likes garlic. I like garlic, but I'm sure other people don't. And it keeps the vampires away as well, so. Shut this around now.
Neil serves the meal indoors. Winter brings increased health risks for the chimps, but there's a plus side for the keepers.
In the winter time, they'll spend more time inside, so it gives us more of an opportunity to work with the chimps close up and to get our bonds and for them to trust us even more, because you can spend the extra time with them. And it gives us a good chance to see them and keep an eye on them at really close range to make sure everybody's fit and healthy. They've got very dexterous lips. Whoops! Very dexterous lips. She's peeled that with her lips. Oh, come on. Don't make me out a liar. Rosie.
Once their favourite fruits have gone, the chimps do finally get round to eating the garlic.
Occasionally, if it's a very strong clove that they bite into, The expressions are a bit comical, just like they would be with us. Certainly for the youngsters as well, the first time they'll have it as well. It's a brand new taster for them. I remember we had some chilies, and it was the first time they'd ever had chilies, and Nicky just picked this red chili up and shoved it in his mouth. And the next minute, steam was coming out of his ears. He's never touched chilies since, but was a hot one. It's nice to know that you're doing a little bit to help the resistance. But everything you do for them, you know, you do it for their good.
Next time, Tejas the lion cub is growing restless, and headkeeper Alan has his hands full.
You can still probably do this for a couple of months yet, and obviously as they get older, they become more unpredictable.
Laura sets a tender trap for the baby red pandas.
Dudu will definitely be the first to go in there. He's really confident, he's a bit of a tinker, he likes to explore.
And there are some worried faces as Zack the tapir goes into hospital for his operation.
What I don't want to do, obviously, is make matters worse.